Hello, friends. Welcome back to Saturday Evenings Posted Mostly presents our weekly constitutional with me, your host, Trevor Stewart 1308. And we are here with the ASOC Prod Cat and the Peanut Gallery. And we are gonna continue watching the Legal Eagle video, Trump's first executive orders are a mess. But there's also a couple of other things I think we want to talk about real quick before we hop into that. But before we get started with all of that, let's do today's ad read. Today's pre-rolls brought to you by The Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, 105 West Main Street, above the Brick, Suite 200, between Green Cauldron and Hamilton's. A great place to go with some great buds to get some great buds, eh, bud? And the only thing better than their bud is their customer service. Also, they have the lowest prices in town, according to my own personal research, which is highly biased. And by that, I mean I was incredibly high when I did my biased research. A quick note of disclosure, we are a very opinionated group here, and we are dealing with some difficult political subjects. Our opinions do not necessarily reflect the opinions of our sponsors, The Hidden Leaf, The Kush Gang, or Firehouse. Don't forget to check The Hidden Leaf's website for times and events. The website is thehiddenleafseville.com. That's thehiddenleafseville, all one word, .com, where you can find the details of their Frosty Fridays private sales event, where you can find vendors such as Firehouse and Kush Gang, who are also sponsors of this show. Kush Gang, who specializes in making some of the best edibles out there, some of the fluffiest brownies ever. So fluffy I had to eat them quickly lest they float away. And Firehouse craft cannabis products, small batch craft cannabis products. I believe that's the ad read. Did I get through it? Guys? Something makes me think that all of a sudden I need to check audio. No, that should be working. Are you guys here? Oh, it's gonna be one of these days. Again. Well, luckily... Hey, I heard something.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
I can hear you now.
Yay! I disconnected and reconnected it from the voice channel. For some reason, it was being stupid.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, both of my cameras just froze.
I see that. Well, they froze, but I can see what you're doing on the screen. That's still moving.
What I'm doing on this... Oh. Yeah, that's still moving, but both the cameras froze. I have a bad feeling about this.
You're
I
wearing the
have,
wrong vest for that.
right? I have the distinct impression that I might have to restart OBS.
Oh.
Yep.
Gee, you can always try the Skype maneuver.
What's that?
Oh, you know what the Skype maneuver is.
Yell at my computer?
The Thursday night game maneuver.
Oh,
Whenever you had problems.
yeah, no, that wasn't a hardware problem. That was a connection problem. This is a hardware problem. And yes, cursing at the computer or phone was exactly what I did.
And it usually worked.
Right?
For a short period of time.
For a period of time.
When it is something that has happened frequently enough and works frequently enough that I'm able to make a specific meme for it.
Right? Well, all right, folks. I'm going to mute myself real quick, and I'm going to stop stream and restart it, and hopefully that works. All right, friends, here we go. We're going to stop and restart.
Mm-hmm.
Cameras seem to be working for now. Are we here? We're here. We're back there. All right.
Remember, no matter where you go.
There you are. Well, friends, hopefully we won't have to deal with this again. Hopefully the only camera that will freeze... Well, hopefully no cameras will freeze. Cheesy
No, we haven't looked for
crackers.
cameras that freeze. We hope that whatever camera is pointed at the Cheeto and his
Yes.
companion, that those always freeze and it never works. And your tech difficulties always happen.
Yes, that is true.
About the cheat card?
Yes, I did.
Because of the wonderful segue that it had.
Yes.
By the way, you have gotten a lot of compliments on the, oh no, that should still be good. That is still good. You've gotten a lot of compliments on the Raisin Cane, meme.
Oh, good.
A lot of people have enjoyed that.
Oh, good.
With that?
It's going to be it's posted in the Discord somewhere.
Memes. It's posted in memes. Because it's a meme.
All right.
It's,
You're looking for a drawing. There it is.
Hold on. Let me
Found
do
it.
this. I feel like the people at home should see this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're requested. I heard something, and now I need a picture to go with what I heard.
There we go. General Dan Raisin Cane and the Angry Tangerine. I just when I heard the nickname for General Dan Cane, I think he's the cabinet minister in charge of the Joint Chiefs, I think is what it was.
Something.
And when I heard his nickname was Raisin Cane, I didn't hear Raising Cane. I heard Raisin Cane.
I just realized something.
Yes.
Things would be going a lot smoother if the Chiefs just had a couple of joints.
Ah!
Wrong. You are
All
not wrong.
chiefs of staff. Couple of joints. And I can tell you where they should get them. They should get them from the Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, 105 West Main Street, above the Brick Suite 200.
That brings us again to the close of our segment, Weed the People.
Weed the people, yes. All right.
I'm going to have to give you a title card for that one, because you need it for the end of your ad reads.
I
Especially
do.
if you're trying stuff.
I do. Oh, I almost forgot. One of the things I wanted to talk about before we get started is what's that? Open a browser. That's exactly what I wanted. So this. Okay, good. It doesn't say who I got this from. Glad. Now, let's transition so that you guys can get a closer look here. So, an unnamed source was talking. I was talking to them. I was overhearing their conversation. Let me rephrase that. About how UVA is doing some sketchy things. UVA Hospital's doing some sketchy things. And I don't have a whole lot of... I can't corroborate most of this, because honestly, I'm not actually very good at digging into this kind of thing. I'm good at talking about it. And this... So, I got them to airdrop me this. It looks like it's a Facebook post by Jerry Miller is at UVA Health.
Mm-hmm.
It is globally available to see. I think it's more than 2 days old. And it's Dr. Craig Kent, the Chief Executive Officer of UVA Health and Executive Vice President for the Health Affairs at the UVA at the University of Virginia, resigned in an after-hours UVA Board of Visitors meeting Tuesday evening. Dr. Kent resigned on the day a convicted felon was on the lam, a reputed gang member who evaded and eluded 4 police departments while circumventing UVA grounds, and as UVA Health was on lockdown most of the day. We all remember that day.
Right.
Dr. Kent resigned mere months after UVA President Jim Ryan authored and signed a letter that backed Dr. Kent with an overwhelming vote of confidence. Dr. Kent resigned under the crossfire of anonymous pressure from fellow UVA physicians who alleged the dirtiest of scandals. So far, I do vaguely remember hearing about this, but it didn't get a whole lot of attention because everything else was going on. UVA, dirtiest of scandals. UVA Health was exploiting sick and dying people with phony bills, and UVA Health altered patient medical charts to maintain top 10 rankings and performance standards. The phony bills is something that I have seen anecdotal evidence of. I cannot say that it's, I can't say that the bills that I saw were phony or were for, but some of the billing that I have been privy to from the side of the patients who have received the bills has had some very sketchy stuff going on. It's looked... and getting bills for things that insurance covered. there's a lot of double billing that appears to have gone on. And again, this is all anecdotal, all stuff that I just sort of saw, not stuff that not stuff that I've been able to track down or verify. So those are the allegations floating around UVA Medical Center, UVA Hospital. Now, this also comes in a moment when I found out that the urgent care centers in Charlottesville are temporarily closed. All the urgent care centers. It seems like your only options in Charlottesville are to go to the ER or to try walk it off. Try the urgent care facilities at the hospitals. And having worked my way through the urgent care stuff through both UVA and Centera, it is not. It is very not.
It's not user friendly.
Yeah, not user friendly. It's not very urgent. It seems like their opinion is, well, if it was that urgent, you should have gone to the ER. And ER doctors, especially at UVA, have the attitude of, if you're not about to die, it's not that urgent. So a lot of times, you're stuck between this choice of lackadaisical, unurgent care or attitude-driven, unurgent care. Yeah. I just... also, something that urgent care did that I appreciated was it didn't require you to be on their paperwork. If they were out of network for you, they didn't make a fuss about it. They didn't try to... They dealt with you. They sent you a bill, but they dealt with you. They sent you a bill. They billed you a pretty straightforward amount, too. It wasn't... There weren't as many hidden fees in urgent care. I think, though, you also paid at the end. Like, when you left, you paid. And so there was an itemized receipt for what happened. At least as far as I remember. It's been a long time since I've needed urgent care. So, now that we have made those flaming allegations, we can get on with the watching the Legal Eagle video. Yeah.
No.
Were you
I find that goes kind of well with last night's Stand Up for Science protest/rally.
Oh, yes. Yes, there was that Stand Up for Science protest that would have been cool to go to, but
What?
there was a protest in Charlottesville.
I think it's like I want to say that on the news they said it was like the 5th one that has happened since January 20th.
Yeah.
Where was this one located?
Downtown, mostly held around the free speech wall, but also spilling out from the actual downtown mall area and going elsewhere.
And hopefully being inconvenient.
Oh,
I
yes.
do not believe that convenient, quiet protest gets anything done. I do believe that we need to be loud, inconvenient, and I'm not, for legal reasons, I am not condoning violent destruction of private or public property. Nor am I condoning, for legal reasons, breaking any laws. However, well-behaved women rarely make history. Just saying.
I have to argue with that quote.
Oh.
The quote, well-behaved women rarely make history.
Yes.
If you add one more word to that, or if you add one small attachment to that, it's entirely true.
What's that?
Rarely make it in the history books.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Because you do some deep digging, you find some very important, quote-unquote, well-behaved women who have made some major progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
But part of what the quote is arguing for is giving credit where credit is due and allowing equal opportunity. Which, if they're not making it in the history book, they're not getting the credit.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I think you're spot on in your analysis of what that motto is trying to say. I think the well-behaved women rarely make history just was short enough to make a bumper sticker. That and that was yeah. Although the first iteration of that bumper sticker that I saw didn't say well-behaved. It said well-shaved women rarely make history. I mean, and again, I think your point about if you do some digging, I think you're right, Peanut Gallery. I think you'll find that what they mean is rarely make it in the history books. But also, I think the well-shaved thing is a valid point because women only really started shaving in the 40s and 50s, I think it was. It was definitely in the 1900s, in the 20th century, that shaving women became a thing.
Yeah. Your average housewife, it was acceptable to do that. Yes.
Personally, I think it's still acceptable to not shave, no matter who you are.
If I'm remembering correctly, there's a reason why it was unacceptable prior to that.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And it was probably some thinly veiled patriarchal attempt to control women.
Yeah, sort of. It has to do with the oldest profession, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And those of less means that were not Cortesian quality, that is how they were able to prove lack of disease or infestation to clients.
Aha.
So it took a while before various people carrying home, well, I liked this girl this way, can my wife do that? Actually became appropriate.
Damn. That was I feel like that was a pretty on the nose take on that right there. I like it when she does it. Can my wife do it? Meanwhile, the wife's going, why are you, where'd you get this idea from?
Oh no, the wives knew where they got the idea from. It was just, it took a while before it was deemed socially acceptable for a wife to be in that state. And it was something that wives were doing prior because, they were asked to. But it wasn't until like the 40s and 50s where you got actual magazine ads and newspaper ads and then later commercials for women to do this.
Okay.
I mean, Lysol is kind of one of your big keys for stupidity.
Oh God, really is. All right, so
on to other stupidity.
Right? I'm trying to think of a segue that's better than, well, let's move from one stupid to another. But yeah, let's move from one stupid to another, and it's all patriarchy and capitalism.
But Lysol makes an excellent change of scene. There's what it was intended for, and then there's the fact that it's used to kill all the germs now.
Yep. Basically, I really wish I could Lysol the political system. But, the last person who tried to do that ended up making it so that this kind of crap could happen.
I mean, honestly, if we go back to making the various senators and congressmen and everyone actually have to defend face-to-face boxing match style their stuff, I think that we will cut some of the stuff out of this.
I think so. I also think that if we go back to not paying too close of attention to how deals are gotten to, because that's really what's done a lot of. That's one of the things that has contributed, and in my opinion, one of the things that's done a lot of damage. Everybody knows how everybody knows how everybody's getting everything. Like the public is now aware of what's going on to get bills passed. And which means that you can no longer work across the aisle quietly. Which means that tribalism and this team mentality, this bipolar team mentality, has a place to grow. I'm not going to say it's the only factor contributing to what's going on right now, but I do believe that it is a big factor. I feel like, I feel like other factors that are in play here are the status quo starting to change, and those who had privilege under the old status quo being afraid of losing privilege. When you have privilege, when you're born into privilege, losing privilege seems like a punishment. Sharing your privilege seems like a loss. And to these people, again, this is a very blanket statement, and I don't believe it's the only truth, but to these people, losing their privilege is terrifying. It's the kind of scary that it feels to them like it feels to me to have trans rights and LGBTQ rights taken out of the system, or religious rights. They feel they have the same internal biochemical physiological reaction to it that I have to them. I'm not justifying.
Very much disagree.
You would?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm not counting you as one of them. You do realize that. Like, you're self-aware enough to know that it's not a zero-sum game.
That's the thing. Certain groups in power are trying to teach it as a zero-sum game.
Right.
So that's why people are having the visceral reaction of granting other people the same rights.
Yes. I agree.
It is, if they were allowed outside of their reinforced bubble, whether it is from their own choosing or otherwise, because a number of people are in certain bubbles because they don't know any other option, then they would understand it is not a zero-sum game, and they would understand they wouldn't be losing anything by letting other people have the same privilege.
I agree with that. I agree with you totally there. I think that that is an important amendment to my statement. What was that?
That was my chair moving.
Aha. I was having a thought there for a moment.
Okay.
It was getting somewhere. What?
You were having a thought. Did it hurt?
Yes. They usually do. Ow! I think I know something. So I also think that that is not, this fear of losing privilege, this fear of sharing privilege. I think that that's not the only contributing factor to what's going on. Of course, there's a lot going on, and I think, as you point out, that a large part of it is what they're being sold in the media. What their media bubbles are selling them. It occurs to me that some of the other things they're being sold here, they're being told, is that the other side doesn't get it. The other side doesn't have humor, doesn't get the joke. The other side thinks that they're bad just for being them. And what struck me here, I don't know if any of you guys know who Gutfeld is. Do you two know who Gutfeld is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
No.
He's a right-wing propagandist. I mean pundit. I mean media figure. On Fox and on the interwebs and stuff, and he thinks he's funny. He thinks that he has to explain his humor to us. He was on Weekend Edition this morning, and they played a clip of him making a very racist joke, and the audience laughed and clapped, and he then said, "You guys are awful for clapping at a racist." And the interviewer, the guy, trying to remember who it was. It's not Bill Curtis, because but it was the Weekend Edition anchor, and he was like,
Ari?
so, huh?
Ari?
No. Ari Shapiro he's a contributor, but he also hosts a different show.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I don't remember the names I got.
In any case, the interviewer was like, nah. So what was? He's like, you've got to know that joke was racist, and Gutfeld said, well, the joke is that I called the audience racist, and that I'm turning it around to make it so that they realize that they're siding with a racist, and it's sort of like that's personally, I feel that's weak sauce. That's a cop-out answer. That's something bad comedians say so that they can make racist jokes. It's something bad comedians say so they can punch down. Now, the interviewer was nicer than I would have been. And tried to get him to explain it further, and Gutfeld's reaction was, I can't believe I'm here explaining this to you. Like, that's even funnier to me that I have to explain this joke to you, to the lefties, to NPR. I have to explain humor. And I'm like, no, I get where your joke was. You're going to have to explain to me why you think it's funny to hurt feelings. Why do you think it's funny to be mean? Because as far as I can tell, only tiny parted,
Insecure?
little-handed, insecure, tiny-minded, little-footed, smooth-brained broadcasters need to be cruel to be funny. And if he thinks that that is cruel, then he should laugh at it because I'm being cruel. Isn't that funny? I felt like the interviewer had a lot of restraint, but also didn't know how to deal with the guy. That I've been watching a lot of YouTube about people like this, about him especially, but about these left propagandists, or these right propagandists. I'm the left propagandist. And see, just because I say that doesn't make the joke I made about him being tiny funny. Short jokes are still not funny because it's really not cool to make fun of someone who can't do anything about their situation. Am I right, Kat?
Yes. Although I still think the part about him being smooth brain counts as funny.
Fair enough. I threw that in there because that's something that they like to say a lot. Smooth brain. Like, really? That's a real smooth brain thing to say. Calling someone a smooth brain. It really, I think making fun of people's intelligence and intellect has the ability to be cruel, because I believe that people make dumb decisions, people do dumb things, but people aren't inherently dumb. People say racist things, people do racist things, people hold racist values. But to call the person themselves a racist, I don't think, A, I don't think it does any good, and B, I don't think it actually works. It's a shorthand for saying that they have these racist, that they fall into these racist tropes. But there's no telling what's going on in their head. There's no telling what they actually feel. Gutfeld might not hate Asians. The joke he made was about Asians. He may not hate Asians. He may actually love them. He may, probably in a disgusting and fetishizing way. But I don't know that. So to call him specifically racist, but he made a racist joke. He says a lot of racist things. His actions belie racism. And I feel like this distinction may be important. I don't know that it's important, I haven't figured out that it's entirely important, but I feel like it might be very important to being able to meet them where they are and come to some sort of middle ground. If you call a person a racist, there's nothing more you can do with them. You can't. They are solidly a racist, and you've called them that, and now they're that in your mind. And that gap is very, almost impossible to bridge.
Okay.
If
So
someone. So,
scaffolding off of that thought.
yes.
Scaffolding off of that thought of once you have labeled someone something in your mind, you can't go anywhere further with them.
At least when it's things like racist or blue-haired SJW. When you give something that extreme of a label, how do you cross that bridge? How do you cross that gap?
Well, my question is expanding off of that is what other labels would be kind of included in that thinking?
Nazi. Although,
Well,
when they do Nazi, it's very hard to be like, oh, he's just doing Nazi stuff.
right.
Also, Nazi, I think we can put that under racist.
Yes.
But I think Democrat and Republican,
Okay.
unless you're a registered card-holding member, you're on one side of the political divide or the other, but you may or may not be a Democrat or a Republican. I know that I don't believe either of you identify as Democrats.
No, I'm just kind of in the middle.
And yeah, I think you're
Pick whoever
both
looks like they're going to do a good job.
solidly independents. Right? As far as I remember you guys saying to me. Now, granted, we share a lot of social opinions and political opinions to some degree. But I think our shared political opinions come from the fact that the right is so far to the right, the Overton window has shifted so far to the right, if you will, that the middle looks left.
Mm.
You know, when NPR is being called a leftist propaganda machine,
Yeah.
things have shifted very far to the right. Now, I think that there are a lot of left-leaning political or opinion expressing people on NPR, but their news isn't. When they deliver the news, they deliver facts. They deliver, and they try very hard not to put a left or a right spin on the news. When objective news starts sounding like it is politically taking a side, it probably means that the other side has gotten very powerful and very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought NPR, that is one thing about how they handled Gutfeld. They asked him on, they had him on, and they gave him room to speak. And they only pushed back insofar as he made them have to in that moment. By defending the joke, by trying to explain the joke, by, they chose to play that joke.
Yeah.
They chose to play that clip, and that is a little bit like, well, okay, maybe that's incendiary. On the other hand, I have a feeling that you could take any clip of Gutfeld's material and it's gonna be like that. In fact, I know you can, because I've seen enough videos about the guy that it's like, oh, this guy holds some beliefs that I do not approve of.
Now, here's a belief for you.
Okay.
I believe we should get to that video.
All right. All right, let's get to the video.
Where you've used in the past. Let's get them over with.
TikTok order, and it raises more questions than answers.
Tax Act doesn't care which tax filing software you've used in the past. Let's get them over with.
The order instructs the Attorney General not to take any action under the law for 75 days, and this extension is meant to give ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese parent company, additional time to negotiate a sale of its U.S. assets. The order directs the Department of Justice to promise app stores the government won't fine them if they offer TikTok to new users. Quote, during this period, the Department of Justice shall take no action to enforce the act or impose any penalties against any entity for any non-compliance with the act. But as we talked about last week, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the TikTok ban statute. And the act says that the president may extend the ban deadline by 90 days, but only if a sale is in progress. ByteDance has insisted it will not sell TikTok, and no sale is in progress. And an executive order does not suspend a statute that was passed by Congress. Republican Senators Tom Cotton and Pete Ricketts insisted, quote, there is no legal basis for any kind of extension of its effective date. And Senator Cotton said, quote, nothing in the order changes the legal scheme, and the companies, quote, face hundreds of billions of dollars of ruinous liability under the law. The AG may follow Trump's directive, but nothing in the order prevents future administrations from fining companies who violated the law. And of note, Apple has still not made the app available for download by new users. And when he signed the order, Trump made a lot of wild statements about TikTok, an app he once tried to ban. And as we discussed in the video about the situation, the US government has serious concerns about TikTok's data collection practices. But Trump said that now he's seen TikTok, it's not that big of a deal. Quote, because I got to use it, and remember, TikTok is largely about kids, young kids. If China is going to get information about young kids out of it, to be honest, I think we have bigger problems than that. So great, the president doesn't care about those data issues now that he's cozied up to the CEO of TikTok.
Can we pause right there?
And now he just won't enforce the law.
Yep.
Oh, it's only for kids, young kids. China can go ahead and collect all the information on our minors that they want.
Right? Hey, do you really want China to know? Not just... Well, okay. This is also assuming that information is only flowing in one direction. One of the biggest dangers of TikTok.
Take a moment, catch your breath.
So, one of the big problems is information doesn't flow just one direction, right? What we know about these social media sites, including YouTube, Don't cancel me, YouTube. Did you just play crickets at me?
Yes, it did.
That was special, dear.
By choosing by weighting the algorithm on what to show people, these companies, these platforms can sway public opinion. You know, part of the problem is it can choose what your kids are gonna watch. I mean, no matter how hard you try, it's gonna have some effect on what you see. Just the fact that I have to occasionally go back through and look through channels that I'm subscribed to on YouTube to make sure that that they haven't been posting and that YouTube hasn't just decided to not show me stuff by them, you know, is something. The struggle is real. Same with any of the others, and especially TikTok, because you don't choose what you watch, it chooses for you. It chooses what the next short is going to be, what the next video is going to be. So now that's dealing with the information flowing from China to kids. China getting information on children is terrifying for so many other reasons as well. Such as knowing the growth, the intellectual development, knowing how to even better curate the algorithm to keep us distracted. And then there's just my own personal knee-jerk reaction to, I don't want anybody to have information on my kid. Oh, yeah. And January 4th, 1988. June 4th, 1988. Tiananmen Square? Yep. It doesn't get talked about. TikTok. That's what I mean about them controlling the flow of information out. Tiananmen Square. And we're an ad break.
I was alive and aware enough to actually witness the video of the guy with the grocery bags standing in front of the tank.
I was too. I remember it happening. I remember it was... I was still on the farm at the time. No, we just left. We were off the farm, or it's a couple of years off the farm at that point. Like a year or two off the farm. Yeah, I yeah. And see, that's the kind of... Now, let's move on from that and visit the other thing that is wrong with that statement, and that is TikTok is not just about kids.
Oh no!
The reason why I jumped on that one was he was saying, "Oh, it's just for kids, so it doesn't matter."
Right.
And just like, okay, so it doesn't matter. It's just for kids. So it's just gathering all the information on our minors, which you're supposedly trying to protect from trafficking and all this abuse from the deep state and their adrenochrome bullshit.
And the left and people like me. But you'll give it all to China.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's so much wrong there that it's hard to unpack how absolutely wrong it is.
So a little bit of an absurdist leap of logic, which I find humorous and sad.
And kind of terrifying.
This little bit of absurdist logic leap is, I wonder how many pet facilities had to change their names after the word groomer became so toxic.
That's dark, bro. That's dark. And yet, I still see it. I still see grooming facilities. Groomer, pet groomer.
But I wonder how many of them have gone through the process of changing their name because, or I wonder how hard it is to find the information on the web because of what has happened to the word.
Right. Oh, and here's, I mean, if you have a dark mind and you read pet groomer, that's all of a sudden a very different sort of taking care of animals. Animal husbandry.
That's that word too.
Ew.
There's that, and you can also choose a different definition for the word pet.
Cheese and crackers. We're dark people. We are some dark people.
I make no bones about that. I try to warn people ahead of time, but yeah.
Right, so
what makes us better than Gutfeld is we aren't making these as jokes. None of us are laughing about this. We're all sort of shocked and horrified by where our brains are going.
I have to admit, I am laughing. I am laughing and scared.
Yes. And I don't feel the need to explain to other people that. Let me start with, I don't think it's okay that I laugh at things like this personally, but I also don't feel the need to explain to other people how it's a joke, because it's, to them, not. And I respect that. And the fact that it's just too close to real life in a lot of ways is just uncomfortable, I think. All right, anything else to cover before we get back to it?
No, just myself and shame.
I do think it's funny that we feel shame about it, though. That I do find funny. We should.
Except for the thing is we're displaying critical reasoning and the fact that we've actually know the meanings of a couple different words and we're able to go, oh, wow.
Oh, gosh, that's not good. Yeah. I mean, that part at least isn't shameful. The fact that we have the critical thinking skills is not shameful.
In one way, it's pointing out, oh, yeah, these words can be taken this way. So they should be bad and should be censored. Yes, they are bad and should be worried about when taken that way. But, how many scientific papers got pulled off of government websites because they had the word inclusion for a different group of variables?
Yep.
Exactly.
All right.
Merch idea, come to the dark side. We know how to use both a dictionary and a thesaurus.
Yeah.
Thesaurus.
No. See, we already have the other thesaurus shirt that we're going to do, which
Thesaurus?
is just sounded out. Thesaurus.
Thesaurus.
That's the other one.
Thesaurus.
Yes, that too.
All right. Let's get back to it. 7.5 minutes in on week 2.
It's us. What do we expect?
I know. Ooh, shiny squirrel.
Now, we've expressed some skepticism about the legal basis for the TikTok ban, but at the same time, the precedent of just not enforcing a law that the Supreme Court says is valid is also super, super bad. But elsewhere, Trump signed an executive order establishing the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and appointing Elon Musk as its leader. The order does not create a new department. Instead, it rebrands the U.S. Digital Service as the United States DOGE Service. Now, I know we have bigger fish to fry, but this to me might be the most offensive thing that happened on a grammatical level, shoving an acronym inside of an acronym. So yeah, I guess we all have to live with the United States Department of Government Efficiency Service. Wonderful. The order directs each federal agency to establish a DOGE team comprising of at least 4 members, including a team leader, an engineer, a human resources specialist, and an attorney. These teams are required to implement DOGE's initiatives within their respective agencies. Now, to your burning question, does Trump have the authority to establish DOGE? Yeah, probably. Creating an entirely new federal department typically requires legislative action by Congress. However, the president can issue executive orders reorganizing or renaming existing agencies. In this instance, DOGE was formed by rebranding a pre-existing U.S. digital service. Though that might cause more problems than it solves, given that it completely changes the mission of the existing service. Now, obviously, if you're issuing hundreds of dubious executive orders, you'll want a good lawyer. But if you want a great lawyer, let my law firm, Eagle Team, help. If you've gotten in a car crash,
His segues. I am jealous of his segues.
Saying your information might have been leaked,
Yes.
or dealing with a workers'
This guy
comp or social
is
security
good
issue,
at it.
we can represent you or help find you the right attorney.
Of course, he
Because it's
also
so important
has
to talk to
a
a lawyer right
writing
away so you
team.
can maximize your recovery. And by the way, we don't get paid
think
unless
they
you
do
so
IP?
nothing
Talking about
upfront.
laws and
Just
lawyers
click that link in the
and
description or call the
business
phone
is
number
law
on screen for a free
lawyer.
consultation with my team.
True.
Because you don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle Team. Then there's criminal law. Trump signed a new executive order pushing the Department of Justice to expand its use of the federal death penalty. Under Biden,
Do you think that the Eagle Team has an IP department?
Yes. Yes, they do. And I know they do because the Legal Eagle Team, among other things, they are in a specific lawsuit against what is it? There's a browser add-on that you can get.
Honey.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
They're part of the Honey lawsuit.
There are.
And
Okay, so no, that is not IP. That's civil.
that is civil, but part of it is IP because Honey is pretending to be someone else's IP to steal your clicks and their rewards.
Okay, no, wait. I think we're using different definitions for IP.
Intellectual property?
Yeah. Okay.
Going to the bathroom?
Yeah.
That too.
That too. No, they're using other people's intellectual property? Because I
They're-
know they're
they're
using
picking
other people's IP addresses, IP awareness, but that's the internet provider.
They're part of what Honey has been found to do is to switch out links and make it look like you're on, say, the nikwork site, so you can get, you post your link for RC Cola, and Honey is switching out your link for RC Cola for their own, so that they're getting all the clicks and views and you get nothing. But it still looks an awful lot like your link. So they're doing a bunch
So
of
what
stuff.
the IP, what the intellectual property stealing is if they're taking my logo, any of my artwork, any of my and putting it on their link to redirect. So that
Basically.
I could see how that is IP fraud.
So they're doing.
Okay.
It's pretty complex, all of the stuff that they're doing, because I've heard.
Well, yeah, the best scams always are.
Yeah.
A good scam is never simple, because a simple scam is easy to figure out.
Yeah.
If you think that your scam is too complex, you're
Probably isn't
wrong.
complex.
Right.
But yeah, so I know that they have at least one person there that deals with IP law
Okay.
and stuff like that, because they have.
Are they
dealt with that.
representing
And I wanna-
themselves and the others in that part of that case?
I don't know all of it.
I would be really surprised. I would be really surprised if a law firm would represent themselves in a class action suit like that. I would think
I
that
just know that they've got a couple. It's at least 2 different law firms that have gotten together to do this, and
I would not. I'm sure that the Eagle team is helping, and maybe they are doing the one little IP bit, because that would be small enough that it'd be like, okay, that's not that big a deal. But and I think that's probably, for the most part, pretty much technical stuff, not it's paperwork and filing, not so much active courtroom argument.
I mean,
But I'm pretty sure that law firms work under the adage that a person who represents themselves in court has a fool for a lawyer and client.
for the most part, yes.
They do not you don't represent yourself. Always have an advocate, even if you're uniquely suited to represent this kind of case. Always have somebody to be your mouthpiece.
Mm.
So, but if they do have IP, and I'm pretty sure they do. I mean, most places do. They might be worth considering looking into having them do our IP law if we ever really sort of need it. I mean,
Maybe. I mean,
things like
Honestly, I would look around here locally first.
there's a local firm, but they're really well, no. There's several local IP firms, I'm sure. There's one, I don't know if they're still in business. If they are, I owe them right of first refusal anyway.
Hmm.
But then there's the other one who has been the firm that has been my criminal law team.
Right.
And they, I would consider going to them, but they're very expensive. Now, in this more civil, there's a guy out in Louisa who I have in mind if we get into some of the more local civil squabbles
Right.
that could come from being investigative pundits.
Right.
There's a sort of a tough sort of street fighting lawyer out in Louisa that I've been turned on to. That I would consider going to in more local stuff. You mean it costs more than $5? Yeah. Now, if we got FU money, if we started pulling FU money, I would have no problem going to the expensive big boys to cover the intellectual property. You know, I think the Eagle team might be cheaper than the firm that I was going to for my criminal stuff.
They might be. They might not be.
Maybe. They advertise on YouTube. Mine advertised on NPR. FU money, $12. No, man. No, $20. $20.
I didn't say 25. I've got a goal there.
I'm not telling anybody to F off for less than $50.
$35 is an offer there, so FU money means 3 cartons of eggs.
Nah, FU money is 5 cartons of eggs. It is, man, the economy is bad enough that we can measure how much FU money is in cartons of eggs.
Well, if you want to go with a more, cartons of eggs is at least somewhat standardized.
Right.
What I would normally refer to as a measure for FU money is tanks of gas. Many different cars have different sized gas tanks.
Did you read what I just typed?
I did not. Nice timing on that.
Once again,
You two are so cute, you're going to give me cavities.
Great minds from the same gutter.
Yes.
Right?
And also, once again, proving that Americans are so unlikely to use actual other measurement systems. We'll use anything but.
We'll use anything but the
Metric.
metric.
The metric system or another approved measuring system in some
Right.
cases.
Right.
Because we will entirely skip out on the imperial system to go with, I don't know, I think it's like 3 or 4 jugs
Football
of milk.
fields. Right.
Yeah.
Jugs of milk.
FU money, cartons of eggs, and a full tank of gas.
Right.
We have actual numbers we could use. We're not using those.
No. On the other hand, it is, I think, it is sort of indicative of what the sort of take on the economy is that, we're talking Oprah money, but we're measuring it in consumables. Oprah money is money that makes itself. You don't consume enough to start using up Oprah money. But the economy is such that consumables are high enough that it's close. It's close. Oprah money may not be enough money to sustain itself in the face of inflation and in the face of the inflation that's coming. This trade war that our
It's
government,
absolutely terrifying.
and it's it's us against everybody too. That's the thing. Like, this is trade war with everybody. And so this is going to make everything even more expensive. And it really is going to put into question whether Oprah money is enough. Is Oprah money enough to be self-sustaining? Is FU money really FU money still? It's obviously only but so FU money because, Diddy and Jay-Z are they can't say FU anymore. Country music said FU to Beyonce. So does she really have FU money to be able to say, well, FU to country music? I mean, she kind of did by making the best country album in the past 20 years or more, but she's still not in country music anymore. Like, she's not anymore. She's still not considered country, like, in the country zeitgeist. Country still doesn't want anything to do with her. And I think that goes to show that no amount of money can say F you to systemic racism. There's no such thing as enough money for a black person to have truly FU money. Whereas
the
white
is,
people have FU privilege.
See, the problem is a certain person did have FU money until they ran into the cost of the sheer volume of baby oil.
This is true. This is true.
You're buying it by the tanker.
Yes.
See, this is me not saying anything here.
What I really appreciate is the fact that the CEO of Costco swore that they didn't sell it.
Costco's like, weren't us. Meanwhile,
it's like Costco and Sam's were both like, we had nothing to do with this.
Right.
We don't sell that ever. Not in that quantity, not in that container. Not us.
That was a direct purchase.
Yeah, probably.
I bet you Diddy was financially savvy enough to buy a decent amount of stock in whatever baby oil company it was before he started buying the baby oil.
Probably.
So he wasn't actually losing that much money on the baby oil.
Probably. That would also probably be a reason why whatever company was sitting there crying afterwards, because their everything has gone down the drain.
Nah, the thing is, he was a primary investor, and that was the way he chose to take his dividends.
That's also a possibility.
Yeah, that would make a lot more sense. We are not good people. These jokes are not good. Just so that everyone's aware, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Left.
That, on the other hand, is a beautiful joke.
There was a moratorium on the federal death penalty, and under the new order, the DOJ must seek death as a punishment in all applicable federal cases and to help states get sufficient supplies for lethal injection drugs for executions. Trump also directs the Attorney General to, quote, seek the overruling of Supreme Court precedents that limit the authority of state and federal governments to impose capital punishment. This order could be referred.
There was a death by firing squad recently.
Yep.
Yep.
The guy chose
North
it.
Carolina, right?
Yep.
The guy chose it because he didn't trust lethal injection or the electric chair.
Yep.
I mean, okay. That's fair. I really want his last words to have been, bullets! My only weakness! How did you know? If I get death by firing squad, I'm trying to go for that.
I'll keep that in mind.
Any last words, Mr. Stewart 1308? Yes. How did you know bullets were my only weakness?
Bullets in the legal system.
Ow.
Yes. Ow.
Oh,
Hi, officer.
If you're in jail, yeah, the legal system is a weakness.
And considering the number of times I've managed to... The fact that it's more than once, I could say my weakness is... One of my weaknesses is the legal system.
That was by no means meant to be a personal attack in any stretch.
No, I know. It was more that I felt very seen. I felt more seen than I meant to. That hit a little close to home. It was a little honest, which is what made it really funny. See, on a personal level, that's funny on a personal level because we're friendly. We're friends. We know each other. It's okay for my friends to make jokes like this about me. Gutfeld makes a joke about that, like that about me. I reserve every right to punch him in his Gutfeld.
Yeah.
He has every right to say it. I have every right to respond.
Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence.
Right. Granted, it also doesn't necessarily mean freedom of violence.
Again, does not mean freedom of consequence.
Right. But I have a feeling that cream on cream violence isn't looked too harsh upon.
Eh.
Oh wait, I'm not cream, I'm Jewish. Crap. I forgot, I'm Jewish. I don't count. I can't hit him. They'll throw me in an oven.
Referring to a number of Supreme Court decisions which limited application of the death penalty. The court has prohibited the death penalty for crimes where the victim did not die, and eliminates the death penalty for juveniles and limits execution of offenders with disabilities. And in answer to your question, why yes, it does seem like an administration preparing to kill as many people as possible. During Trump's first term, he ended a 17-year hiatus on the use of the federal death penalty, and Trump's administration carried out 13 executions during his last months in office. However, these requests generally fall within the president's power to influence how the DOJ allocates resources and develops legal strategies. President Trump also wants the AG to determine whether these offenders can be charged with state capital crimes, and it's fine for the president to order a book report about whether they can be tried again in state court, but that's as far as the order goes. The president can't direct state prosecutions to charge his offenders with state crimes simply because he thinks they should get the death penalty. Trump has also withdrawn the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization. Although the agreement was signed by the United States, the Senate never ratified it as a treaty. This distinction allows the president to unilaterally withdraw the U.S. from the agreement without requiring congressional approval. America joined the WHO through a joint resolution passed by Congress in 1948, which included a stipulation for withdrawal upon providing 1 year's notice. In 2020, President Trump initiated a withdrawal from the WHO. President Biden halted that in 2021, and there's no legal problem with Trump withdrawing from the WHO as long as he follows the notice requirements. President Trump signed orders to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and revert Alaska's Mount Denali to its former name, Mount McKinley. Can he do this? No and yes.
Style and substance. In the GMC.
The president's executive order directs federal agencies to use the new designation Gulf of America in official U.S. documents and communications. However, the change applies solely within the United States and does not have international jurisdiction. The International Hydrographic Organization, which standardizes maritime nomenclature worldwide, doesn't have to change the name. Therefore, the other nations can still call it the Gulf of Mexico. In the United States, the naming of geographical features is primarily managed by the Board on Geographic Names, the BGN, established to maintain uniformity in place names across federal agencies. And in 2015, President Obama's Secretary of the Interior, Sally Jewell, used her authority to change the name of Mount McKinley to Denali, which Native Alaskans have called it for thousands of years. So Trump can legally change that name. The president has the authority to order or suggest the secretary change the place names. In changing the name back, Trump followed the same procedure that Obama used to change the name to Denali. And Trump also signed an executive order standardizing national architecture styles. The order mandates that new federal buildings like courthouses and agency headquarters adhere to classical architectural styles such as Greek and Roman. Trump asserts that these styles are sturdy and useful. The order criticizes modernist styles, particularly brutalism and deconstructivism, as failing to embody American ideals. So I guess in terms of what's more important than your children's data being expatriated to China,
Right? Brutalism sounds very American.
President Trump meant defining what future buildings are going to look like on the outside. The order directs the GSA to update architectural guidelines within 90 days to...
I feel like ordering it to be Roman and Grecian inspired is an attempt to... It's an attempt to Europeanize things. Not necessarily... It's an attempt to say that... I guess it feels a lot like beauty standards being set by Roman and Greek standards, and how these things are said to be the standard, the artistic standards, the beauty standards, the design standards. And I find it to be very disingenuous. No, I don't. I find it to be narrow-minded. I find it to be blind. I find it to be xenophobic. And I find it to be a systemic type of narrow-mindedness.
I have a observation that I feel pained for making, and I must share.
Okay.
Requiring them to be Roman or Grecian means that the architectural styles are defined by the most derided and most brown Europeans.
Yes. But Rome and Greece, Italy and Greece, are where... Well, okay, first off, let's start with the Roman salute. He's not looking for Italian and Greek. He's looking for the idealized Aryan roots that the rest of us know. Aryan and Roman and Greek aren't the same thing at all.
Not by any stretch.
Right. But it's this it's the idea of what Rome represented. That
imperialistic.
Thank you. Thank you. It's this imperialism ideal that these strong men gravitate towards. And especially these white supremacists. You know, and it's this myth in our own history books that Greece and Rome were at their time the height of education and learning and society, and that their societies were the pinnacles at the time, and they really weren't.
In Europe.
They really weren't in Europe. Yeah. They were at the accepted world at the time was Rome and was Greece and Italy. You know, it was yeah. It was a very small very small world, very small universe for the people who wrote the history books that Trump and Musk and their type draw from. It's this same blindness to truth, whether it's willful or not. It's this same blindness to truth that has really sort of pushed the oh gosh, where was I going with that? The environmental narrative that they adhere to, the social narratives, and the idea that the idealized 1950s narrative that they seem to go for, the trad wife, trad life narrative that seems to come up. Do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
I don't think so.
You guys can just sort of wind me up and let me go, can't you?
We try.
It works.
We do try.
Prioritize classical styles. Now, near the end of Trump's first term, he issued an executive order establishing a new classification for federal civil servants known as Schedule F. Schedule F was never implemented, and President Biden repealed it shortly after taking office. President Trump has now reinstated the Schedule F classification. Now, generally, career civil servants are shielded from political interference so they can carry out their responsibilities without political pressure. But Trump's order says all federal employees are, quote, required to faithfully implement administration policies to the best of their ability, consistent with their constitutional oath, and the vesting of executive authority solely in the president. The National Treasury Employees Union filed a lawsuit which argues that the president does not have the authority to reclassify federal workers as at-will employees.
Snap your W-2 and file your taxes 100% free. Plus, get your biggest refund. File free now.
And we'll certainly talk more about this as the case moves through the courts. If you want to get into the weeds on this, check out the video that we did on Project 2025. Oh, and by the way, all of this is basically straight out of Project 2025. But Trump also ordered federal employees to return to the office full-time and ordered a hiring freeze for all positions except for the military, immigration, and other law enforcement jobs. And these orders are probably within his powers as the leader of the executive branch. And turning now to Trump's new political staff, Trump signed a memorandum giving his new hires interim security clearances without background checks. This allows them to have temporary access to classified information. Can he do that? Yeah, probably, even to Tulsi Gabbard. The president possesses broad authority over the classification and declassification of information, as well as the granting of security clearances. The authority is derived from the president's constitutional role as commander-in-chief, and has been affirmed through legal precedents. Trump signed executive orders aimed at dismantling federal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. These orders directed federal agencies to terminate DEI-related initiatives within 60 days, place DEI staff on paid leave with plans for eventual layoffs, and review employment practices to ensure they exclude DEI considerations. Is this within the president's powers? Yeah, probably as the head of the executive branch, except to the extent that it's already codified in statute. The president has the authority to issue executive orders to manage federal operations. This includes directing how federal agencies implement policies and manage programs. President Biden issued orders to promote the ideas of diversity, equity, and inclusion during his tenure, and Trump can revoke those. However, if these initiatives conflict with federal civil rights laws like Title VII, then it would be problematic. For example, in his executive order ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity, the Trump administration rescinds Executive Order 11246, which President Lyndon Johnson signed in 1965. This order desegregated federal contracting. And President Trump also signed several executive orders impacting transgender rights. The first order mandates that all federal agencies recognize only two immutable genders, male and female, on official documents, including U.S. passports. The order conflicts with the American Medical Association's guidance, which states that gender identity exists on a spectrum rather than as an immutable male-female binary. Stephen Miller, the architect of Trump's 2017 Muslim ban, seems to have written the order. He tried to define the words male and female. Female means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the large reproductive cell. Quote, male means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the small reproductive cell. Some have
Let us stop right there and appreciate that at conception, we all have a pair of X chromosomes.
And it is not until afterwards that anything else comes into the mix. So congratulations, by his definition.
We are all women.
Yep.
And I'm okay with it.
Damn it, what happened to all my rights?
Wait, why am I getting paid less? Where's my money going?
Yep.
That, however, counts as a good joke.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is yeah. I'm, of course this is the stuff that really also one of the things that really grates me, because I identify as very non-binary. I mean, I identify as omni, which is not just non-binary, it's all of them all at once, all the time. I am the kind of, other than I'm not using my non-binariness to perv on people, I'm the kind of trans person they're afraid of. I'm so incredibly in touch with my gender expression and myself that I really don't care what other people see. I can choose anything on any day. I could be anything at any time. You know, it's not even like today I feel like a chick. It's like, oh, right now I feel like a chick. Right now I feel like a dude. You know,
So,
and that
uh,
when they argue about the confusion it causes and the, well, how do I know what to call you? You know, now I have an answer for that, and it's like, you call me Trev or Trevor. You don't have to call me by a gender. You can refer to me as a human, as a person, you know.
so
They're
the thing is, they're not afraid of what a trans person would do.
they're
They are
afraid,
afraid of what someone who thinks like them would do.
right. Yes. They don't fear, yeah, they fear what they would do if they were like that. I think also they fear that my identity invalidates theirs. If
No, they're
someone,
doing a good job of doing that themselves.
Yeah.
right? If someone as doodly as me, if someone is like, by their own vernacular, as Chadley as me, can be a woman, can be invalidated from being male, then these people who aren't as Chadley as me, who can't grow the big facial hair, who don't put on muscle easily, who don't go out there and grab life and do it, you know, they worry that really effeminates them. It's like, oh God, I'm not as manly as him, and he's not a man.
Essentially.
And that,
Well, if they're worried about being effeminated, then they need to read that executive order.
Right.
Yeah.
also, when people judge me as manly, they are very much misjudging me.
Oh.
Like, I just present this way on the outside because this is what my body does. Like, the delicate flower inside is still quite just the delicate flower.
Go ahead. Say manly one more time.
Manly. One more
Right, now I'm going to have
time.
to burst into song.
Oh no.
We're men. We're men in
Manly
tights.
Manly men.
Exactly. It was either that or the lumberjack song.
I
All right.
don't like the
I'm gonna tie this
lumberjack
back
song.
to that architecture thing.
Please do.
This notion of manly men who don't dress up and don't wear makeup and don't do this and don't do that and all the other wonderfulness.
Yeah, right.
You know, you go back to the Greek and Roman architecture and all that other stuff. Among other things, I don't recall any of them actually wearing pants.
Right? They wore.
I also recall that there were a bunch of them that not only used a lot of hair product in their hair and beards, but they braided their hair and beards, and it was quite glorious to have it long.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And they had hair and beard jewelry specifically to show off.
Same with Vikings.
Oh, there's also the fact that they didn't care what sort of pillar or alcove you had between your legs.
Nope.
Right. They were.
If you were available, you were available.
Now,
Yep.
that may not have translated to their ruling structure, but as far as their
No.
preferences,
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
what was
it's.
with that painting?
Huh?
The painting of Achilles hiding on the Isle of whatever from his enemies.
he hit on the Isle of Lesbos.
I think that was it. But this is a painting from this time frame that they want to hold up as
Glorious.
and there's Achilles in full gown, full face of makeup, hiding on the Isle, and the as someone pointed out, the people that were sent there to hunt him brought an entire chest full of jewels to try to figure out who were the guys hiding on the island with him, and who were the actual natives. And it's like everybody's there oohing and awing over the chest of jewels.
So you're saying that witness protection program was a real drag?
Basically.
That was a good one.
It worked.
That was a good one. All right, with that, we're going to get back to this. We are most of the way through this. We have made it most of the way through this. I think if we put an effort into, we can get through this in time. Let's go.
Okay.
Suggested that Miller used AI to draft part of this order because it's so friggin' dumb, and maybe that's why the order uses strange phrasing. We're assuming here that large reproductive cell is an egg or an ovum, and the small reproductive cell is the sperm, but these definitions assume that from the moment of conception, humans are male or female. But as every doctor knows, at conception, humans do not yet produce gametes, which are what determines the sex characteristics. So congratulations, everyone. There's only two genders, and everyone is neuter, neither of the two genders. And in some ways, it is morbidly hilarious that, given the task of determining what is a woman, the Trump administration has no friggin' clue. But President Trump's order prevents people from changing the sex designation on U.S. passports. The order does not impact state laws, and the president cannot unilaterally change state laws that allow transgender people to update their names and gender markers on their driver's licenses. But generally, can he do the rest of this? Probably. Under Federal Law 22 USC 211A, it grants the Secretary of State the authority to issue passports under rules prescribed by the President or Secretary. However, these orders must not conflict with existing laws for constitutional rights, and people will challenge this order in court. And of course, this is an area of the law that is rapidly changing. In 2020, the Supreme Court ruled in Bostick versus Clayton County that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination based on sex, also prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. At least at the moment, this decision would trump the president's new executive orders. However, Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh have already said they'd like to overrule Bostock. Trump also revoked Biden's order allowing transgender people to serve openly in the military. And can he reinstate that ban? Well, maybe. The Supreme Court allowed Trump's ban to take effect in 2019, but they did not issue an opinion on the merits. Can the president ban medical treatments and procedures? Probably not. The president doesn't have the direct authority to compel a state to alter its healthcare practices. However, he can incentivize policy changes by attaching conditions to federal funding. Later this year, the Supreme Court will decide whether states can ban gender treatment for minors. President Trump also signed an order requiring the Attorney General and the Director of National Intelligence to investigate potential free speech infringements that may have occurred during the Biden administration. This order covers actions the Biden administration took in several areas, including the January 6th prosecutions, FBI investigations into threats against teachers, and collaboration with social media companies. Upon completing these inquiries, the Attorney General and Director of National Intelligence will make recommendations for future action. This order probably falls within the president's powers, but we don't know if it will end up being a nothing burger or a pretext to purge disloyal employees. The nominees for Attorney General.
I think UNTV makes a decent point there. Get ready for the midterms to be filled with voter suppression. Yeah. I foresee voter suppression style acts and laws being worked on in before the midterms. Now, do I have anything to really give me reason to believe that? Not that I've heard. Nothing. There's been no evidence that this is about to start happening, because those kinds of things have to happen at state level. And again, a lot of what Legal Eagle is saying is that he can't exactly, he can issue guidance, but he can't force states to do things. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we do have governors like Youngkin who, while spent some time playing nice across the aisle over his tenure, over his term, he is buying very much into these voter suppression style tactics and is doing things. And unfortunately, I didn't pay very close attention, but there's a couple of things that Youngkin is doing that are right out of Project 2025 right now, according to NPR. So yeah. Oh yeah. Virginia's election. Also, in Virginia, remember, every year is an election year.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get a break around here. It is always election season. Just like every season on the Virginia roads is deer season. There is no time that is safe from deer while you are driving.
No.
No, not even daytime. But, so Virginia, we have the ability to have a pretty big turnover this next election. And hopefully, I believe Spamberger's running. Isn't that right?
One of the people.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm likely to vote for her. I've just kind of liked her ever since she came on the scene. She's had a very strong presence. And maybe it's that I like that she's not just a former CIA operative. She's like a former director, isn't she?
I think so.
She had a pretty high rank. That's a word I was looking for. Pretty high rank in the CIA. Yeah. Now, we also know that if Danica Rome were running for governor, we know I'd vote for her.
Yes.
Because you know what's better than a Roman republic? A Rome in democracy.
Yes. I could not remember how that was supposed to go.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to go a Roman democracy. A Rome in democracy. I managed to I think I got that to one of her friends. So I think someone out there is using, one of her friends out there is using that for her. Like hopefully she heard it.
Good.
I commented on one of her one of her band's metal videos. So yeah, that's hoping she gets that.
Good.
General and DNI,
right,
Pam
we're gonna
Bondi
be
and Tulsi Gabbard,
What?
could use it to create a list of employees
What was that?
Stay on.
Yes.
who should be fired, going above and beyond Schedule F. Then there is the environment. In Trump's inauguration speech, he said, quote, "We will drill, baby, drill," and he then issued a flurry of orders that were gifts to fossil fuel companies. The first was a declaration of national energy emergency, quote, "The United States' insufficient energy production, transportation, refining, and generation constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to our nation's economy, national security, and foreign policy." The order defines the term energy or energy resources as crude oil, natural gas, least condensates, natural gas liquids, refined petroleum products, uranium, coal, biofuels, geothermal heat, the kinetic movement of flowing water, and critical minerals. And this definition somehow leaves out the fastest growing sector of energy resources, the renewable energy sources like wind and solar.
Right.
Trump used the national emergency declaration to take additional actions, like he instructed the energy secretary to resume reviewing applications for liquefied natural gas export projects. He rescinded a 2021 Biden executive order that aimed for 50% of
Brought
US
to you
diesel
by the Hidden
sales
Leaf.
to be electric by 2030, and he outlawed offshore windmills. Does Trump have the authority to invoke a national energy emergency? Probably, because the president's ability to declare an emergency is very broad. Congress granted the president access to 137 statutory powers upon declaring a national emergency, and these powers encompass actions such as seizing property, organizing and controlling the means of production, and deploying military forces domestically. During his first term, Trump invoked a national emergency at the border and used it to justify building the wall. Many commentators have pointed out that the president's powers in this area are potentially so vast that they could easily be exploited by a power-hungry president. Boy, that would be really terrible, wouldn't it? Now, the eyes of the world are fixed on what Donald Trump is going to do next. He broke the record for signing the most day one executive orders in U.S. history, which in turn compelled most news outlets to write headlines that speak to the set of executive orders as a whole rather than any one in particular. Yes, this is going to be the Mr. Burns effect presidency. So it's not surprising that Trump's first day in office was covered by a whopping 414 sources, spread out evenly over left, center, and right sources. And when we compare the headlines, we start to see some interesting patterns emerge. On the left, a common theme of the headlines is the use of words like avalanche, spate, or that the circus is back in town. These all suggest a process that was chaotic, rushed, and not well thought out. On the right, a common phrase is the headline "taking the reins back," implying the opposite, that these executive orders were an end to the chaos and start of an optimistic future. And center sources typically ran headlines absent of loaded language, but that downplay what actually happened, like President Donald Trump issues series of executive actions on day one. But the headlines you read have immense power to shape how you understand the news. And that's why I like to see news from as many angles as possible.
And now we're doing an ad for Ground News.
Ground News is a website and app developed by a former NASA engineer on a mission to give readers an easy,
I do feel like we should get this.
And right now they're offering Legal Eagle viewers 40% off their unlimited access.
I saw that there was a video that was
because Ground News gathers related articles from around the world and across the political spectrum,
was
so you can see the bias and
criticizing Ground
Every story
News.
comes with a quick visual breakdown of the political bias.
I didn't take a close look at it, but I had a feeling that it's not.
See the coverage details and political bias, but you can also see the
I have a feeling that the source, the person,
one of my favorite features is their bias comparison feature, which highlights specific differences in reporting.
Probably wants
this can be especially helpful when reading stories from sources you've never heard of, when there's no telling who owns it or what their agenda might be. It also helps explain why we often talk
probably
past each other,
wants
and some people seem
a
hyper-focused on what seems like nonsense,
less
often because some random blog post went viral among
balanced
certain people. And that's why
information
Ground News is my
bubble.
favorite way to get
They
it.
would like
And as
their
a legal
side
eaglet,
to be
you can save
more
40% off the Ground News Vantage subscription by scanning the code on
more
the screen or clicking
on
the link
top.
down below.
And
This
I don't
subscription
know
gives
which
you
side
unlimited
they
access to
are
every
on,
feature, including the
but I
Bias
have a
Insight
feeling
tool
that
that
they're
provides feed.
partisan.
And by subscribing, you'll support an independent news platform working to make the media landscape more transparent. So click on the link below to get 40% off. And after that, click on this link over here for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you in court.
No offense,
There's a
buddy, but
rising tide
hopefully
radiating
you
next-
won't see me in court.
Right.
I really, really, really don't want to be seen in court by anybody for a very long time.
Yeah.
Well, we did. We made it through.
We did.
We did. We made it through, and we talked about some of the other stuff that was on our minds there.
Yeah.
Hey, we made it through those 20 minutes in less than 2 hours. That's a record for us.
I mean, it is.
It is. It is. It helps that I have I'm meeting a friend. Not too much longer, and I mean,
Yes.
I didn't set a time. I'm smarter than that, but it's yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
It does help. It does help.
I am aware of the time crunch this time. I'm not just here being crazy and silly. Also, I think it might help that nope, that thought just didn't complete. It knew where it was going when it started, but man, it just didn't get there. Well, in any case, we have made it through the trauma of the first week of Trump's presidency. How many weeks into his presidency are we?
A month.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. That was well timed. Well, friends, thank you for joining us. Oh, we're in ad break still. Is there next week we should cover the voice actor strike. Just to get that, to actually cover that.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it'll still be going on.
Even if it's not, we can cover they only just finished.
Right? Yeah, I feel like we should draw a conclusion here, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to draw a conclusion when we know that what's coming is just more chaos. There is no real conclusion or lesson here. If we choose this route, we could just keep doing this for the next 4 years. And 4 weeks.
Yeah. Our main problem is the fact that what we're talking about is an ongoing situation.
Yeah.
So you can't have an ending final conclusion.
No.
Because it hasn't ended.
Right.
So
yeah. And we do have other things to cover on this channel.
we do.
We have that musician to interview. Danny Byrne.
True.
I've managed to get in touch with him a couple of times, and he's been he's definitely up for it. I'm looking forward to that. He seems like a really fun person. when I met him, he just struck me as a lot of fun.
Very good.
And I think he'll be we might talk politics. He did confide in me that even though he used to try to really avoid politics, he's felt the need to say something recently because Kel Surprise, the total crap show that we're in these days.
Yeah.
And then he asked me if I was okay interviewing a leftist.
Did you tell him no? We don't care for any of that pinko commie scum.
No. I started to try to explain what a Vadarian leftist was.
Oh no.
I was like, oh gosh, so take your ideas and push them a little more to the left. That's where I'm at. So, I'm really interested in his music. But I will give him the opportunity to speak on his political views too, because in these times, I think it is important that we speak our minds.
Yes.
At least those of us that hold the right political opinions. I can't deliver that with a straight face.
No, you shouldn't be able to, honestly.
No.
Well, you definitely don't hold the right political opinions. On the other side, there's the left.
Okay, yes. Yes, there's
I walked into that. In any case, all right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you both, Kat and Peanut Gallery. Thank you, SK Halen, for dropping in earlier. Thank you, UNTV. Thanks for saying something. We appreciate that. And, of course, thank you all you lurkers out there. We love you lurkers. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And now is the time on the show when I say don't forget to stick around for the raid. And then I say, as they say around here, 2 up, 2 down, VA, double deuces, we're out, y'all.